Okay.
So I would like to call the meeting of the Northern United Charter Schools Board meeting of May 8th, 2024 to the beginning. If you could please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
4:11. Yeah, you gotta say the time.
Oh, 4:11 p.m. My
Yeah, you
apologies.
need to remember to state the time.
So we're opening at 4:11 p.m. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need to call for adopting the agenda. Okay, do I have any motions to adopt the agenda?
I move to agenda as posted.
Are there any seconds?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. The agenda is adopted for the meeting today. Move on to.
We have to vote on it.
Oh yeah, we have to vote on it.
Oh, we have to vote. Okay, sorry. It's been a long time since I've been in a meeting, so I don't know. This has not been work out.
We'll just walk through the couple first times.
Yeah, I can't.
So something like it's been moved and
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor? We have Melissa,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And I also approve. So we adopt the agenda for May 8th open meeting. Moving on to presentations. Are there any presentations to share with the group today?
No, there are no items.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can move on to the consent agenda. Is there any?
When you read them,
I don't think we have to.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring up within the consent agendas? Do I need to ask for a motion
No.
to approve? Okay. If there are no concerns about the consent agenda, then do I have any motions to approve the consent agenda for today?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Any seconds for approving the consent agenda?
I second.
Okay, great, and I approve as well.
Now we
So
have to take a vote.
we have to vote?
A vote.
A vote, okay, so a vote for accepting the consent agenda. Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Great, and I approve as well. So we will move on after accepting the consent agenda to public comments on items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone from the public?
So you have to read it. You say comments.
Okay, comments by the public. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against the employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedures and pursue that matter. The public will have the opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those that are heard. But it sounds like we have no public here. No public in Humboldt right now?
No.
Okay, do we need to approve that?
So I think we move on.
Okay, so we can move on to action items to be considered. 5.1, the approval of Bryceland Learning Center at AW Way camping overnight field trip.
Brianna, you're doing a great job. I know it's hard.
Rusty.
I know it's nerve-wracking, and you're doing a good job. So this item is a field trip that is an overnight field trip. Technically, the overnight field trips now, oh wait, no, never mind. The overnight field trips have to be approved by the board, and so This is for Bryceland's end of the year trip, and they go to AWA County Park in Honeydew, and it is all 3 teachers go and the parents and all of the students from the Learning Center.
Wow.
So we have all of the items we need for this to get approved, meaning the list of the chaperones and their itinerary and all of that. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or not, but I'm asking for approval on this field trip.
Are there any questions regarding the Bryceland Learning Center camping overnight field trip approval? And do I have a motion to approve the Bryceland Learning Center AWA camping overnight field trip?
I move to approve the Bryceland Learning Center AWA camping overnight field trip.
Thank you, Jerry. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Brian. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. As for a vote,
It has been moved and seconded.
it has been moved and seconded.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Melissa?
Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Sorry, we couldn't hear Brian.
Yeah, I think we lost him. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Brian. And I also approve the Bryceland Learning Center AWA camping overnight field trip. So moving on to action, motion carries. You should be doing this, not me. Okay. The motion carries. So moving on
Make a
to.
good team.
I wouldn't be able to do it if it weren't for her. I was just saying to her, we should switch places.
I've been listening for a little bit longer consecutively, so it's just
I have a big gap in my learning period. So we're moving on to point 5.2, approval of lease agreement for 423 South Broadway, Wairika for Northern United Siskiyou Charter Schools Learning Center. Do we have any concerns or anybody that would like to comment?
The information was in the background sheet about this, and there has been $100 a month increase on this lease. But yes, we're asking for approval.
Are there any other comments that would like to be made?
No.
Okay. So
Is there a motion?
is there a motion to approve the lease agreement for 423 South Broadway Street in Wairika?
I motion to approve the lease agreement for 423 South Broadway, Wairika.
Thank you, Melissa. Do I have a second?
I second it for approval.
Thank you very much, Brian. I go to a vote of, so we're moving to a vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
and Brian.
Aye.
And I also approve the lease agreement for 423 South Broadway, Wairika. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to action item 5.3, the approval of lease agreement for 505 South Broadway, Wairika for the Northern United Siskiyou Charter Schools.
Again, the information for the lease is in your background. This one had more of a significant increase, $500 a month increase. But again, we're asking for your approval on this lease. This is 505 South Broadway in Wairika.
The only question I had, I did have a comment, is that is a significant increase. I say that we wouldn't approve it, but when you have that times 12, what is that going to look like for the budget?
Yeah, it's 51,000 a year is what that is.
And what was it, if you were to do that from before, what would it be?
What is 500 times 12, 6,000? So 6,000 less than that, so.
Okay. That's the only comment that I had, because I mean, that's a huge increase.
It is a big increase.
Did we expect that increase, Sherry, or did it sneak up on us?
They have increased it pretty much every year. So I definitely expected an increase. Which one is 505? Is that what you're?
Yeah, which one? Because, there was the one that, had the,
The
Cal Fire
flood?
presentation, and then on the other side of the street is where the toilet is.
Yeah.
So
Which one is 4? Was 505?
505 is where the career fair was. where
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And
so
Okay.
that's the one.
423 is where the.
Yeah, so where the garage is.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, this is.
So I
that's the-
think, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Kirk has some background
Yeah.
on it for us.
Yeah, just the reasoning behind it was actually a year or two ago, his insurance went up quite a bit, but he didn't raise rent, a couple of years ago like he thought he would, but it has gone up enough now that he's, he just needed to raise it that just to cover the increased insurance costs that he has.
That's understandable. And thank you for that input, Kirk. You answered one of my questions as well. And because I have been gone since before COVID, did he hike the rents during that time period? He held them, and then we're looking at
Maybe
a
little bit,
boost
yeah.
after to catch up. So if that makes.
So the only question I have, when things go up like that, this is probably just a general thing, out of all of it, and Sheriff can probably answer, is when these increases do happen, what do we do on our end to make sure that we don't overspend? So like when things are happening, like, you have things, we all know in reality, things do go up every year. What do we do to meet that need, that we keep up on that we're not overburdening ourselves with?
Well, it just depends on the situation.
Okay.
For example, some years we have, pretty much every year, we have carryover from the year before where we didn't spend all the money.
Okay.
So if we are in one fiscal year spending more than we're getting from revenue, we do have, carryover from prior years to
Okay.
cover that. But you can't do that forever.
Right,
because
right.
That carryover ends.
Right,
And so if cuts have to be made at some point, then
Right.
that's a decision that we make.
right,
And we decide what those are, do we have one less building? Do we have less staffing? Do we cut down on mileage reimbursements? Do we cut down on supplies? It's all decisions that have to be made.
yeah, that's what I wanted to know for sure, because I didn't know, to make sure that if we're
Yeah.
doing this, then we're not cutting, or at least we try not to cut, but try to seek other avenues so that we don't have to do that. But yeah,
And,
okay, that's the only question that I have.
From what Kirk just told us, and from our perspective on the real estate market in Wairika and what's happening to it, sounds like the landlord did not hike when he could have. So what Sherry was saying about that rollover and the planned increases that we could have expected, that it's almost like playing catch up a little bit. Do we expect that the landlord could continue to hike this? Because it is, when you look at downtown Wairika, that's a fairly interesting building to other businesses. But we've put a lot of money and time into the infrastructure. So my only question beyond that would be, how is he working with us, knowing that we already have that much money and time, and our children also are used to going to school there? It's our welcoming center, that we know that he's not going to take advantage of that in the future. It doesn't seem
We have
like
a really
it,
good
but
relationship.
yeah.
And he always tells me he really likes renting to us and likes working with us, and, we're super solid, steady tenants, and, so I have no fears at all that he's gonna pull the rug out from under us or try to, jack up rates exorbitantly.
It seems like that would have been something that would have already happened if that were the case. So that kind of alleviates
And
some of the
that's kind of
concerns.
why we waited a little bit to increase rent commensurate with his increased insurance costs, because he didn't want to, make it feel like he was trying to push us out or something. But he said, I just couldn't, I couldn't hold off anymore. I had to raise it.
So we're kind of not expecting projected high increases like this in the
No.
next years.
Depending on the insurance market and his expenses, I would say.
So it feels reasonable.
It sounds reasonable to me too, and Sounds like we're kind of lucky with our landlord too. That's wonderful. Are there any other concerns or questions that would like to be proposed?
No.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the lease for 505 South Broadway in Wairika?
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement at 505 S Broadway in Wairika.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Great, and let's go to vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And I also approve the lease agreement for 505 South Broadway, Wairika.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Moving on to action item 5.4, the approval lease agreement for 2409 and 2411 South Mount Shasta Boulevard in Mount Shasta. Do we have some background on that information?
We do, it's in the packet, and this one has an increase of $144 per month.
For both buildings.
Yeah, for the whole thing, yeah.
And are there any other
Just so you know,
concerns?
that seems like a weird dollar amount. It's 3% is what he increases the lease each
Alright,
year is
Hey.
3%.
nice.
Actually, I know thank you for that comment, Sherry, because that was one of my questions. It is a weird dollar amount, but there's also something, I don't want to say comforting, but that shows me that the landlord has really calculated exactly what it is that they're increasing. When was the last background of the increase, and do we expect more in the next year or future 5 years?
Expect an increase every year on our
Yeah.
leases.
Yeah.
And this is the first, we just finished the first full year of this particular building. So there's not really any background to give on that. But that landlord increases his leases in all the buildings he rents by, I think, 3% is what he uses. So that's what we'll see again next year.
Okay, great. And we have that planned into the budget for, if we know that he's 3% every year, it's gonna be 3% every year unless we get future information. Yes. Do I, yeah. Do I have a
Yeah,
motion?
all of these lease increases are included in our budget, will be included in our budget adoption.
Is there a motion to approve the lease agreement for 2409 and 2411 South Mount Shasta Boulevard in Mount Shasta?
I
I'll
motion
make
to
a motion.
5.4.
Do I have a second?
I will second it to make approval.
Right. And vote. And Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And I also approve the lease agreement for 2409 and 2411 South Mount Shasta Boulevard in Mount Shasta. The vote carries. And the motion carries. The vote carries. All right, moving on to action item 5.5, approval of lease agreement for 72 The Terrace in Willow Creek. Do we have any background information on that?
Yep, it's in the packet, and there is no increase on this lease. This one stays the same as it was this year.
Yay.
Do we anticipate a future increase on that within the next year or
No.
3 years? No?
No.
Okay. Fantastic. Wonderful. Do I have a motion to approve the lease agreement for 72 The Terrace in Willow Creek?
I make a motion to approve the lease agreement for 72 Terrace, Willow Creek.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jerry. I approve this. I hear the seconded. Do I have a vote? Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
I also approve the lease agreement for 72 The Terrace, Willow Creek. Is that all? Moving on. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to action item number 5.6, approval of lease agreement for 5 Cemetery Road in Bryceland.
This one also has no increase.
Fantastic. Do I have any other questions or concerns?
Only question I have is overall, is when we approve these lease agreements, are we thinking about like, do we look into whether the conditions of the building and stuff, do we know all that in advance?
And this is a building we've been in for maybe 30 years, so yeah, we know the condition.
Okay,
very
well, no,
well.
I just have, I
Maybe
always have
30,
questions, being a new
25.
board member, I'm always, and sometimes my concern is like, people make we make these agreements, not you guys, but other people, and then, the buildings like pass on, or, I've been in school districts that were just like, something needs to be fixed. I just want to make sure that we were aware, or they're aware of it too. I just want to just ask
Yeah,
that question.
yeah, I mean,
Good.
our staff are in the buildings every day.
Right, okay,
None of these are new locations.
okay. I didn't know, because like if we're paying somebody, we just gotta make sure that they keep up on the building and stuff, which for safety reasons as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only comment I have.
Okay.
That's it.
Are there any other comments or concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the lease agreement for 5 Cemetery Road in Bryceland?
I move to approve the lease agreement for 5 Cemetery Road, Bryceland, for Northern United Humboldt Charter School.
Thank you, Jerry. Do I have a second?
I will second the approval.
Thank you, Ryan, and it's been motioned and seconded. May I have a vote? Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
I also approve, motions to, motion carried. I also approve and the approval of lease agreement for 5 Cemetery Road, Bryceland in Northern United Humboldt Charter School. Motion carried. And moving on to action items, item number 5.7, the approval of lease agreement for 1539 F Street in Arcata for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. Any concerns or background information that would like to be shared?
As you saw in the background sheet, that we're leasing one less building than we've been leasing at that location. There's 2 buildings there and we're moving down to just 1. So that's why this is a reduction in rent.
And just for public record, could you let us know exactly what that reduction in rent is?
It's $1,600 a month. I'm trying to remember what it was before. I can look and see on my computer to see what it was, but
Why did we downsize, or why did you guys downsize?
we don't need the full building anymore.
Are there any other concerns, questions, or discussion?
No.
I think we were paying 3,800 if I remember.
Oh, wow.
Do I have a motion to approve the lease agreement for 5 Cemetery Road in Bryceland?
I move to approve the lease agreement for 1537 F, wait, am I in the wrong one?
We're on
We
our
already
data.
did, yep, we're on our-
5.7.
It's a lot of leases. Thank you, Melissa. Do I have a second on that motion?
Melissa did the first. So now
Yeah,
somebody
so
needs,
she's doing it for 5 Cemetery Road in Bryce.
that's not what Melissa said.
Oh, okay.
1539 F Street, Unit
Oh,
A,
sorry.
Arcata.
My
I
apologies.
second it. I second it.
It's been
Fantastic.
seconded.
It's been first and seconded. Move to a vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
And I also approve the lease for agreement. A motion carries. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to action item 5.8, approval of the declaration of need for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School.
So this is an item that we do every year for both Humboldt and Siskiyou. And what this is if next year we needed to hire a teacher, a staff member who did not have the appropriate credentialing, and therefore they needed to get an emergency credential, the state will only issue an emergency credential if you have one of these on file. So these are called a declaration of need. And basically it is stating that you tried to hire someone who was qualified but were unable to. And therefore, are needing to have somebody who has to get an emergency credential. But if that happens, which we don't anticipate that happening, but if it happens, the only way to move forward is if this was already on file. So we like to just go ahead and take care of that before the next school year so we can be in place just in case something happens during the year. So we have this one for Siskiyou, and then the next item is for Humboldt, but they're the same, just one in each school.
We've done this before, Sherry? Right?
We do it
Yearly?
every year. Yep,
Okay.
you're right. We do it every year.
Okay, are there any other discussion points or questions regarding this? Do I have a motion to approve action item 5.8, the declaration of need for Northern United Charter Schools, Siskiyou County?
I motion to approve the declaration of need, Northern United Siskiyou Charter Schools.
Thank you, Melissa. Do I have a second motion?
I approve, second it for approval.
And thank you, Brian. The motion carried. Oh, no, back up. May we have a vote?
Second.
Melissa?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
The motion carries. And and I also I also approve. The motion carries. 5.8, the approval of declaration for need for Northern United Siskiyou Charter Schools. Moving on to 5.9, approval of the declaration for need for Northern United Humboldt Charter Schools. Any background information or discussion questions?
Anything?
So is there a motion to approve the declaration of need for Northern United Humboldt Charter Schools?
I move to approve the declaration of need for Northern United Humboldt Charter School.
Thank you, Jerry. Do we have a second?
I second the approval for the declaration of need.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have a vote? Melissa?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
I also vote in approval of the declaration of need for Northern United Humboldt Charter Schools. The motion carries. Moving on to point 6 on the agenda, discussion items. 6.1, onboarding of new Humboldt board member Brian Payton, and welcome to the board.
Thank you.
Jerry? I'll hand this one over to you.
Okay. Do you want to put it on the screen? Can you put it?
You may do that now.
Yeah.
I gotta do it from that computer, sorry. I'll walk over there.
So they're gonna put the handbook up on the screen so we can look at it.
I'll allow this computer to do it from this computer first.
Part of my problem?
And Melissa, again, thank you for the notes. Because I know you were taking them when we were all together.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Since it was our first time going through this, and we kind of made some edits on the fly, and which is a good thing. After all these years, I wouldn't say had the need to do this, but, um, it works out that, it's a good thing, to do. We're waiting for Terry to bring up, the handbook, which is online,
Okay.
and you
And
can
I
go,
share it with you.
yeah, and review that. So, Brian, this introduction would be similar to what Rosemary read just prior to the interview too. So
Okay.
I just want to, do this as a part of an orientation. We're in it's sixth year. Sixth year as a newly constituted, reorganized charter school that emerged from the previous Natal Valley Charter School.
Remember that?
The NUCS, and you'll hear us using that acronym a lot, as you can see in the agenda. The NUCS Board of Directors is a hybrid of a traditional school board and a non-profit board of directors. We serve both Siskiyou County and Humboldt County. There's 2 directors come from Siskiyou County and 3 come from Humboldt. We teleconference our meetings, as you can see. With the seating of Brianna 2 months ago, we have 3 of the original members of the board of directors when we started. Board members' terms are 3 years and are staggered so that all the terms do not expire simultaneously. We typically meet currently the second Wednesday of each month, except for July when we have no meeting. And in June, when we move it to the end of the month for budget adoption purposes, and we have 2 meetings back to back. Adjustments are made to that schedule on an as-needed basis, such as, for some reason, there's a scheduling conflict with Sherry, our director, board members, or it looks like we may not have a quorum for whatever reason. We shift the day to when at least 3 members can be present. There may be additional special board meetings as the need arises, as well as closed sessions to deal with confidential matters. Originally, we collectively met together twice a year, here in Humboldt and in Siskiyou County. The pandemic caused that to not work out. And then this past spring, the Humboldt contingent went to Siskiyou. And it's really good for everybody to be together. Since the inception of NUCS, policies and procedures have been added out of necessity, such as candidate interview questions, board attendance policy, and a new onboarding introduction, and a member offboarding policy. We're governed by Articles of Incorporation bylaws, the Brown Act, California Education Code, and the California government code. Our officers are chairperson, president, vice chairperson, vice president, director, secretary, treasurer. So Rosemary Conkler is the board chairperson, president. And her term expires December of 2024. Brianna Oster, she's the vice chairperson, vice president, and her term will expire in December of 26. You replaced a board member, and your term will expire in December of 26. Melissa Johnson, board member, her term expires December 24. I'm Jerry Cox, board member. My term expires December 24. Jerry Levitt, our director. Linda Speck, secretary. And Kelly Withers, our secretary.
Treasurer.
Or treasurer. Can't read like the one I wrote. Thank you. So, you want to put the,
Yeah, what would you like on there?
well, just the table of contents. So there's a lot of these, there's a lot of different components. And it goes without saying that much of this is ubiquitous. It applies to every school board anywhere, although ours may be more customized to our two-county situation and it being a charter school, but set in motion the first meeting after a new member has been seated to do onboarding procedure. So I've gone through the if you want to go to onboarding. So, you're right here, already here, but we felt that it was really important and essential in maintaining a well-functioning school to do this and introduce you to the team, because we all work together in governing the district. So, done the introduction of titles. We're going to go through the review of the handbook, including the protocols, calendar of meeting dates, contact list for members. So we'll be receiving, if you haven't already, a Robert's Rules of Order book. You have a photo taken for your school badge. New email address. And you'll be given a Form 700, conflict of interest form. That's complete. And then the school makes your nameplate that will sit in front of you wherever we go. And then in reverse, there's the offboarding, which all those things have to be turned back into the district upon the submission of a letter of resignation. There are some expectations for all members, and certainly a new member, that is automatically apparent when you're seated. These additional requirements require being fingerprinted, Department of Justice background check, charter safe childhood sexual assault prevention online training, annual. And there's a mandated quarter online training, annual. Sexual harassment online training, biannual. Brown Act training, anytime within your first year, and those are offered to our attorney's office. And Sherry will be notifying all of us when those become available, and it's done online. I've already mentioned the Form 700. And then there's the expectation that all members will be involved in the director's evaluation and participate in the board's self-evaluation. You may recall one of the questions in the interview had something to do with the chain of command, which, if I recall, you seem to grasp fairly well. So the board is run by the chairperson or president. And that person conducts the meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. They consult with the school director, setting up the agenda. And the chairperson is the point of contact for all board members. You know, and that includes attendance, if you're gonna be late or you can't make it, you know, first contact the chairperson. You can always secondarily contact chairs. The chairperson is the liaison between the board and the director. The chairperson meets with the director for the final evaluation. Negotiates at the board's direction the director's contract, signs documents that require the chairperson's signature, signs diplomas, attends graduation and distributes diplomas, gives the opening welcoming statement for candidate interviews and other tasks as assigned by the board. And the vice chairman assumes the duty of the chair in the chairperson's absence. Just as we've seen Brianna do today, she's conducting the board meeting, going through the agenda per Robert's Rules of Order. Is encouraged to attend graduation and distribute diplomas and other duties assigned by the board. In order to have effective board meetings and cohesion in the board, attendance is really important. Attending board meetings regularly is essential to good governance. And by attending, or conversely, not attending, you just miss out on all the discussions. And it's not to say that we're not prohibited from missing in a meeting. Sometimes emergencies occur for a really large variety of reasons. So protocols pertaining to board attendance, you know, it's necessary. And as a professional courtesy, if you know you're going to miss, is going to be late, or have to leave early, please notify the board chair ahead of time. If a board member must miss a meeting, then that member can review the recorded board meeting, because all of these are recorded, and when you miss them, you can go and review them and see what went on. If a board member attendance problem exists, the board chair or designee shall contact the board member to discuss the problem. If the board member's attendance does not improve, the matter will be agendized and discussed in an open meeting. The board may vote to remove a member if there are 2 consecutive unnotified absences, or is absent for 3 consecutive regular board meetings, or is absent 1/3 of the total regular board meetings for within the last 12-month period. If the board meeting is voted off, the board member shall adhere to the off-boarding rules. And this is all taken, the authority to do this is taken from the bylaws, and you can see the section that it's referring to in bylaws. And then beyond that, the rest of the handbook covers mission, you know, our purpose, more of the expectations, covering, you know, remember that your views are your views alone, and each of us do not speak for the board as a whole. And all the core beliefs, you know, obviously students come first. And we're here, the vision is for every student. We're getting them to be future ready for personal success, for college, or anywhere in the workplace. You know, we all work together in a partnership, you know, with the broader school community, which is parents, all the community partners, working towards preparing our students to be confident, competent, and proactive citizens in our very diverse society. Do you have any questions?
No, not so far.
Yeah,
Just taking it all in.
yeah, well, it is a lot to take in all at
And
once,
some of
but
the common sense too.
yeah.
And you have access to this, so everything
right.
Jerry has said is in this handbook.
Right. And, so the purpose of this is to, go through and acknowledge there are specific expectations of all board members that we must meet annually or every 2 years. It's not a matter of just being approved and then being seated. There expectations of attendance and the online trainings and the Form 700 and so on. You know, there are the protocol for visiting a learning center where your badge, go to the office and identify yourself so that you can be on campus. You have the opportunity to bring up new ideas or concerns during the board report section of the agenda. It's important that when we get emails asking us a question or has some information from Sherry, it's best, while some of them are okay to reply all, many and most of them are to reply only. So that's just, you know, when in doubt, just reply only, as opposed to replying to all of us. Because what we need to avoid is a serial meeting that's in violation of the Brown Act. So,
I did have a quick question though. So I'm the type of person that always kind of thinks about a lot of stuff. So do you guys have things in place? I noticed I was reading up there and I always like to, I always go back to review stuff. So let's say, I noticed you have a thing that you can replace a board member without cause. Now, do you guys have something in place that kind of protects board members? So let's say, for instance, in a scenario, you have a board member that's just so enthusiastic and really, really wants to do things, or somebody that, you know, like there's a lot of disagreement going on. And is there something in place to, like, if you have board members that will just kind of, not saying this will happen, but I'm a thinker, where that board member could be different and want things different. Not to say that I would do that, but would you have something in place if you had all these board members go, well, we don't like this person because of what they think and what they want to do? Do you have something in place that really would protect that board member that's really doing a good job? But then you have these other board members kind of like chime over like, what's going on?
that's a good question, and it gets back to the bylaws.
Right.
The bylaws are set up so that, well, first of all, board members serve until they decide to leave. We joke about it. It's like being a member of the Supreme Court. You serve for life.
Sure.
Unless you leave or die. But more specifically to your question, the bylaws allow the board, the majority of the board, to remove a member without cause. And I mean, it's all got to be done in open session. And obviously something like that would involve a very lively discussion. And then just as the interview, none of that's done privately. It's all done out in the open. And whatever the decision the board makes is fine.
Okay.
Let's leave it that. And so now, did you print out one of these?
What, the protocol? Oh, no. But I think that don't we want to have everybody, don't we want him to just sign the one that everybody signed? Because we could get that one.
Well, we could,
Or do we want to just have him sign one?
well, we had the opportunity because we were all together. And it
Right,
was the very first
Yeah.
time
yeah,
being done when
Right.
when we onboarded, went through this process with Brianna, then we could all sign it.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
moving
I think
forward,
right. Just normally it would be the one person,
Right.
and we just add it to the one we already have.
so,
Well, thank you for printing that off.
this time, good job. In the handbook, there will be this page, agreements to facilitate governance leadership. And, has subheading governance team norms and protocols. Our agreements to facilitate governance leadership. And below that are norms, protocols, which I'm on. And then this says we, but, because, I guess we need to, because this is all we.
I know.
But, I don't think we've accounted for
We didn't really have.
an individual, but
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah,
So we'll just have, you sign and affirm this day of and the year, and then trustee name, just, sign it. That you have, this signifies that we have performed the onboarding of the new member, you. So,
and we'll add it to the one that everybody else signed.
Okay.
So, with that, that's, concludes, the onboard, we don't, excuse me, in, don't feel, bashful or hold back, asking for explanations. Education is full of acronyms. Some of us will point out to whoever's doing the explaining of the background to please, what does this stand for? That's just a common courtesy that we've done in the past. And in another part of the procedure in the board meeting, in making a motion, you have two options. You can say, I make a motion, which you did, or I move, and then make the statement. As opposed to I motion, that's incorrect. So it's I move, or I make a motion to. And then second they can go on. So, I guess that's it.
Can I add just one
Yes.
quick thing? So at the beginning of this handbook, Brian, you'll see, it's kind of here's the table of contents, it's at the bottom of the table of contents. There's a whole bunch of links there for more documents. So you see, there's our employee policies, our student policies, our charter petitions, there's the bylaws that Jerry was referring to, our articles of incorporation, there's our school calendars. The one that says NUCS board members, that has a list of all our board members and their contact information. You've already been added to that. So if you need anybody's contact information, it's on there. Here's our board meeting calendar. Kind of a summary of Robert's rules, what Jerry was just talking about, how you say like, I make a motion or I move, that's all part of Robert's rules. And there's like our goals and my contract. It's just some information that could be helpful for you. But anyway, all those are live links. So that's just where a lot of this board handbook has a bunch of stuff in it because of those links. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
And so it would be, it might be wise to print out the, board member contact information. Go ahead and print out the calendar of meetings so that, they can put them into your phone's calendar, so you're always.
Sure.
The, you should get a copy of the, just have mileage reimbursement form. And, just for your information, there is a flow chart that shows how the district is set up. Each year, this changes, gets updated, the goals, and the goals and plan. And that's not done in a vacuum, that is tied to everything that goes on for the school year. The director's contract, which is due for renewal. If you're so interested, the school accounting budget code, a summary, and so on, and then just a template for the agenda, and you'll get used to it. This is the pattern that we go through, meeting in and meeting out.
Melissa's raising her hand.
Who?
Melissa.
Melissa?
Interrupt. Sorry, I was trying to wait patiently. I just wanted to, if it was all right, I wanted to kind of just do a quick, like on my perspective, answer of Brian's question earlier. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah, Brian, that was a good question, and I wanted to let you know that if you look in the handbook under positive governance, team culture, and structures and processes to support effective governance, everything that we do as a board, we follow this handbook. So if we're doing something inappropriately to the handbook, and according to Robert's Rule of Order, as well as the Brown Act, and our bylaws, and then if we're doing everything according to those systems, then we wouldn't be able to just get rid of a board member just because we didn't like how they're doing things, unless they were breaking the rules that we have laid out. So if you notice in one of our sections sorry, I had it and I lost it. Board member communication. Board members shall not discuss or communicate confidential proceedings, etc. Per the Brown Act, board members shall not engage in serial meetings, etc. Board members' personal statements related to an agenda item will not be included. Moving on kind of quickly. Any board member may contact the board chair or school director regarding issues of NUCS interest and concern. If a board member needs substantive information or assistance, their primary contact is the school director, etc. If the school director is experiencing problems with a board member, the school director should immediately alert the board chair, etc. The school director will communicate with the board chair and the board members between meetings if and when issues arise that require immediate attention. So basically, in order to remove a board member, we would have to go through a big process of not communicating with each other. So it wouldn't be everybody got together and said, we don't want this member. It would be in direct communication with our director, and then it would be brought up under some of our other protocol on how we bring up new concerns and ideas, and then it would go through a whole process, and then we would take a vote. So with there being multiple board members that are not in communication with each other, if we made a vote to remove a member, then it would be the whole process in itself would keep each member safe from just removal without cause. So hopefully that is helpful.
If I may, piggyback on something key that you just said, is that we cannot be in communication with each other about that, which falls under the serial meeting of the Brown Act, correct? So there would, in that situation or any other situation, there can't be the roundabout.
Yeah, not
so-
more than 2 people unless it's in open session. And since we're using positive governance team culture, that's one of our sections in this handbook. We all follow that in order to respect each other's differences and other things along those lines. So hopefully that is helpful and not too extensive.
That answered it.
Thank you guys for doing that.
And thank you so much, Jerry, for the work that you've put in from the beginning of the very founding of this board and the changeovers that we went through with the founding our future and laying out the proper steps for the board and the school to continue forward into the future with everything that we need to do for our children. And thank you, Melissa, for doing all the notes that you did after we met the last time in about Shasta. Are there any more questions or issues that would like to be addressed? I don't think that's really something we need to approve.
Good job,
So,
Jerry.
yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Jerry. You're awesome. Jerry, you blow me away on a personal and professional note. Everything you've done in the last 6 years is like nothing I've ever seen, and we appreciate every moment you put into our schools and our board. So moving on, we have point 6 on the agenda, discussion items. Point 6.1, we finished that with the onboarding, so we're going to move forward to section 7.1 in the reports, enrollment and attendance report.
That report's in the packet.
Is there any concerns, questions, or clarification that would like to be made? No? All right, moving on to 7.2, financial report for Northern United Humboldt Siskiyou and Northern United Humboldt Charter School and Northern United Siskiyou Charter School.
Again, those reports are in the packet.
Okay. Are there any details or information, questions, or concerns? Okay. Moving on to 7.3, the director's report and LCAP.
So I'll just be pretty brief here. I just wanted to give the members of the public another opportunity, including the staff that are on here and board members, an opportunity to make any comments on the LCAP, either for Humboldt or for Siskiyou, as before it comes to the board for public hearing in June. So again, this is just making sure that there's opportunity at anytime we can for people to give input. I went ahead and included the draft of the LCAP for Humboldt as of right now, just for, so that people could kind of see what the format looks like. But again, this is really just the opportunity for anybody to comment. So I'll wait a second and see if anybody has any comments that they want to give.
Are there any comments or questions? Jerry, Brian, Melissa? Public? You comments are public.
And then the other thing that I have for my report is we received the second interim letter, acknowledgement, approval, whatever, from Siskiyou County Office of Education. And so I just included that letter in the packet for you guys to see, just as correspondence. And that's it for my report today.
Thank you so much, Sherry, and thank you for your amazing tracking of everything and all of your reports. So we are moving, if there's no other concerns or questions, we're moving on to 7.4 and 7.5, the Humboldt Charter School report, and then following up with Siskiyou Charter School report.
Okay, the report's in your packet, and I see Rebecca's face on there, willing to entertain any questions or comments that you might have, but the report was in there.
Say yes to the prom dress.
Thank you, Rebecca. You are, it's always amazing. Anything from 7.5, Siskiyou Charter School report? Kirk?
Nothing.
The report's in there, so I don't know if you have any questions.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Shay. Could you repeat that?
The report's in there, and I don't know if you have any questions.
Are there any other questions, concerns? Jerry, Brian, Melissa?
I just love where we live and being able to see the kids out in nature by the water and farm animals. It's really I feel like our students really get like a good experience with our local ecosystems.
Yeah, I will add something about that. Previously, this year and previous years, we've had the Siskiyou County Office of Education Extreme Science Program do field trips and activities with Wairika Learning Center and Mount Shasta Learning Center. Next year, we are planning on having them at the same time on the same days. So we'll meet somewhere and bring all the kids there, or maybe something will happen here and the Mount Shasta kids will come up here and vice versa. So this was the first sort of test run of that plan. We had
cool.
students from Wairika and Mount Shasta all converge on the same place.
This is the first time. That's awesome. Nice.
If there's nothing more to add to the Northern United Siskiyou Charter School report or Humboldt Charter School report, we'll move on to point 7.6 and the board report. Jerry, would you like to begin?
I want to welcome Brian to the board, and one thing I would like to mention is to make sure that Brian is added to Jenna's notification email that goes out, because if you recall, I had brought up a feeling of being out of the loop, and so Rosemary had.
Do you know, does she just use the board group, or does she do them individually? Because he's already in the board group.
Okay.
So if she uses the group email.
Well,
or does
before
she
I
do
was never getting them.
Okay,
And
she might do
so,
it individually.
let me look here.
But yes, I'll
Well,
ask
now
her to add.
it says board group.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay,
so
so
she may have,
he'd get it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and then hopefully, yeah, that he will, because then that way you'll get a listing of what's going on and where, so that when you have the,
For one of our learning centers.
Yeah.
But do you get the newsletter? The
I don't get the
newsletters? You don't get the
newsletters.
newsletters, okay. So I need to
Because
ask
then-
Melody to include that.
then
'cause
that
that's
way
why
you'll
things-
know what's going on, and if you have the opportunity and availability to go and, participate, check in. The school reports, in the packet, they have all these wonderful pictures and
Yeah.
explanations of, what is going on. And and I would just say that I have a different take on the removing of a board member. If you look at the bylaws, Article 7, Section 11, it's very clear as to what the board can do if necessary. So that's all I want to say. It's not essential to get mired down in that. That's all.
Thank you, Jerry. Melissa, did you have anything that you'd like to report or share?
Nothing to report this month.
And Brian, welcome to the board for your first feedback. Is there anything you'd like to add to the board report?
No, to just say thank you for allowing me to be on your board. It took a little while, but thank you for Jerry for contacting me and having some faith in me that I can do this. That was a really surprise email that I got from them. So I thank you. And just I'm pleased with the staff here. I know a few of the staff that work here, so I feel like this is kind of like my home a little bit, you know. I know a few that one of them that goes to my church and stuff, so it's really kind of nice to be part of the team. So thank you.
And welcome to you, Brian. It's nice to have you a part of the team as well. We're glad to have you here and look forward to future great advances for the school and for our board. There's anything else, I would also like to add that I saw something really amazing happen in Siskiyou the other day. We had a parents convening meeting for the homeschool teaching parents, and it was one of the most powerful things I've seen happen in this school. I might tear up a little bit, but I wanted to give my thanks as a parent as well as a board member to all of the staff, Kirk particularly, and Kate, and Colleen, and so this is where I tear up. Thank you so much, Kirk, for guiding the school through all of that. Okay. So that's the last I have to say about anything. If there's no other concerns or questions or anything that anyone would like to add, we can move on to the open session before closed session. We will be asking the public right now to invite any address before the board regarding the items that are on the closed session. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. The board is not allowed under the law to take actions on matters that are not on the agenda. So when we adjourn to closed session, we will be pursuant to Government Code 54950-5462. Closed session attendees will include the board members, Sherry Levitt, director, and other individuals that may be invited to attend the board. We will be in closed session to have conference with labor negotiators. The underrepresented employee would be the school directors. So we are going to step aside and discuss labor negotiation issues. And before we do that, are there any concerns or public comments that would like to occur? Okay, so I will, what do I say at this point? I move that we move into closed session if there's no concerns, and we will reconvene afterwards. Yeah, thank you. Oh,
Who wants to talk?
There's a public comment.
here.
I just wanted to.
You might have to get close to the microphone.
Oh, can you guys hear me over there?
That's better, thank you.
I just wanted to ask the board to take into consideration everything that Sherry does do. She runs 2 schools with the help of her 2 regional directors, but she does a lot of things you guys don't normally see. She oversees our business office, working with both Kelly and I, rolling up her sleeves and doing work agreements, working on the budget, the LCAPs. She approves every one of our work agreements for the staff. There's just so much that she does that I think of the day-to-day runnings that you guys might not be aware of. She advocates for all of us to get fair wages throughout, yet her contracts run for the length of time that are negotiated through the board. So I would like to ask the board to take into consideration the raises that the certificated staff have gotten over the last 3 years and what they would get for the next 3 years if she goes into a 3-year contract. And basically, we couldn't have a better person running both of our schools, and we're really lucky to have her.
Thank you, Linda.
I also put an increase in for her already in the budget of 10%.
Will you say that again, please?
I included a 10% increase for her at second interim already in the budget.
And as I always say, I did not pay them to say this.
Yeah, well, I
Don't tell her we're gonna do it, and
I-
she'd probably tell us not to.
have no idea how important she is.
I think that's really important if you could, thank you so much for your input. We unfortunately rarely have input from the public, and we appreciate every little bit of information you can share with the board. I think we have a little bit of input. I don't want to put you on the
Well,
spot,
I was just saying,
but I'd like to hear
and I
that.
agree with absolutely everything that Linda Speck said, like, just how indispensable she is in keeping us all on track and, you know, deserves everything that she gets.
Thank you, Kirk. Are there any other public comments or concerns before we move into closed session?
Julie Anderson said, Sherry fans here too.
Thank you for reading that. I can't see it. Okay, so I move that we move into
So
closed session. How do
I
say
think
that?
we'll just go into closed session now, so,
Just say the time.
yeah, say the time that we'll do it. I think 5:33 is what time my computer says right now, so we'll go into closed session.
Fantastic. We will, the board will move into closed session at 5:33, and we will reconvene.
Thinking.
Okay, so welcome back from our closed session. The board has nothing to report at this point in time. No decisions were made. However, we are suggesting that we set a special session for the future before June 27th. So at, let me get the fact, sorry. It's 6:54. We are coming back into open session. There's nothing more to report from the closed session. Then we can move on to agenda item 10.1, possible agenda items for the future. Public hearings for the LCAPs and budgets, and anything else that anyone would like to propose for a future agenda.
There will be some more leases,
leases.
and there will be some agreements for food vendors also. Plus a whole lot of other things.
Okay, so 10.2 is next board meeting date is set for June 26th and 27th, although we anticipate that there will be a special board meeting before then to include Rosemary in the discussion about the future negotiations of contract and labor. Is there anything else anyone would like to add before we adjourn? Okay, so I will call the adjournment of this meeting at 6:55. I need my glasses on. Yes, I call for the adjournment of the meeting at 6:55, and look forward to seeing all of you in the very near future.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.